Biodiversity is the variety of organisms and other living things living in a specific ecosystem. And with that, good morning everyone. We are the Group 4 and I am Andrea Nicole Ramos. Together with me are my members Pinky Pamplona, Jake Pacatang, Kristen May Razonable, Barbie Principe, and Dese Andrea Santan. And we are the Group 4. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is a phrase that refers to the tremendous diversity of life on the planet. It can also be used to refer to all of the species in a certain location or environment. Every little thing, including plants, microorganisms, animals, and humans, is referred to as biodiversity. All of the species that are alive today have evolved distinctive features that set them apart from other species over generations. Scientists utilize these differences to distinguish one species from another. Different species are organisms that have developed to be dissimilar from one another, that they can no longer breed with one another. All organisms that can reproduce with one another are classified as single species. Given that there is still so much biodiversity to find, scientists are interested in how much biodiversity exists on a global basis. They also look at the number of species in a single environment, such as forest, grassland, tundra, or lake. From beetles to snakes to antelopes, a single grassland can support a diverse spectrum of animals. The warm and humid climate of tropical regions, for example, provides optimum environment conditions for plant growth in ecosystems that contain the most biodiversity. Ecosystems can also house species that are too small to notice with human eye. Using a microscope to examine soil or water samples reveals an entire universe of bacteria and other small organisms. So, what is the importance of biodiversity? Biodiversity has become a major concern on the international stage. On a local, national, and international level, the value of biodiversity is increasingly recognized as a critical concern. The problem is figuring out how to increase the link to video plant 500 trees every hour using a rewilding stick biological diversity in a practical and workable method. Clearly, actions must be taken at the national level. Persons and groups of individuals can, however, begin to act on their own behalf to assist promote ecological change and boosting diversity. The underpinning of human existing and our rather existence well-being is the biological diversity of life on earth. Biodiversity and healthy ecosystems keep us safe from natural calamities, manage the climate, and provide us with food, fertile soil, and medicine. However, biodiversity is dwindling and many of the world's most important biodiversity hotspots are in countries suffering from poverty, food insecurity, and the effects of climate change. Unsustainable human activities and conduct are the underlying drivers of biodiversity loss. We must adopt and drive demand for more responsible and sustainable practices that maintain the soil, the water, the forests, and wildlife to protect biodiversity and the prosperity of people around the world.
Ecosystem diversity refers to the variety of ecosystems found in a given geographic place as well as their impact on human life and the environment. Ecological variety can also refer to difference in a biological community, complexity, such as different niche tropical levels and other ecological processes. The variation in ecosystems, for example, desert, forests, grasslands, wetland, ocean. There are the example of ecological diversity. When we think of desert we think of sand that is dry and extremely hot, so how can anything exist there? However, The desert biome is actually quite rich of life, such as cactus that do not require water, and there are many more intriguing things in the desert. Forest includes not only trees but also a diverse range of plants, animals, and microorganisms that live in them. It enables species to adapt to changing environmental conditions while preserving ecosystem services. Grasslands Grasslands are dominated by grasses with only a few trees, thus grasslands in which the flora is largely dominated by the cover of grasses and occurs in an environment that is favorable to plants, growth is considerably greater. Water-saturated wetland. Water-saturated wetland soils are home to a variety of bacteria and plants known as hydric soils, which distinguishes from a related ecosystem such as ponds and rivers. Oceans. They not only serve as the world's largest habitat, but they also contribute to manage the global climate because of the sodium and chloride ions in rainwater runoff and minerals from geothermal vents on the sea floor. This is a continuous body of salt water. For a variety of reasons, ecosystem diversity is important to the both humans, animals, and organisms for survival. For example, ecosystem diversity increases the availability of oxygen. Without it, we would not be able to survive because a lack of diversity in the ecosystem has a negative impact on the environment because ecosystems must maintain a balance for all organisms to live. These balances include food, water, oxygen, energy, and matter distribution.
Species diversity is the measure of biological diversity observed in a particular ecological community, indicating a number of species or species richness in ecological community. The Philippines is one of 18 mega biodiverse countries of the world, containing two-thirds of the Earth's biodiversity and between 70% and 80% of the world's plant and animal species. The Philippines rank fifth in the number of plant species and maintains 5% of the world's flora. Here are the causes why some species are disappearing. First is the species extinction. Extinction is a natural process. Hundreds of thousands of plants disappeared because they failed to adapt to changing condition, and also invasive species. It can cause extinction of native plants and animals, reducing biodiversity, competing with native organisms for limited resources, and altering habitats. This can cause huge economic impacts and fundamental disruptions. Some examples of species include blue whales, white-tailed deer, white pine trees, sunflower, and microscopic bacteria that can't be seen by the naked eye.
Genetic diversity refers to the diversity within a species. The greater the genetic diversity, the higher is the chance of long-term survival. Each species is composed of individuals with their own set of genes. A gene is the inheritance unit by which generations can inherit the features of their parents. It refers to the nucleotide sequence in the DNA strands packaged in chromosomes. These genes are responsible for the expression of their distinct features since these genes control the differences and similar characteristics among different organisms. A population would have different genes that are responsible for the variation among its members. For example, the population of humans consists of individuals with different physical traits reflecting their genetic diversity. Apart from between species, genetic diversity may also be observed among species. For instance, the population of dogs may consist of different breeds of dog.
The natural and man-made resources. Let us start first with the natural resources. These are the resources that exist without any actions of the humankind This includes the source of valued characteristics such as commercial and industrial use, scientific interest, and cultural value. The best example of natural resources are air, water, petroleum, sand, wood, and even rubber. And also, we should not forget the man-made resources. These are the resources that does not occur naturally and is produced and consumed by humans. Best examples of these are chairs that are made from woods, tires that are made from rubber, spoon that is made up of metal, clay pots that came from sand, and last from the best example I'm gonna give you is the statue that is somehow made from copper. Some of it are rare, made from clay also.
Natural resources are materials or things that people use from the earth. There are two types of natural resources. The first are renewable natural resources. They are called renewable because they can grow again or never run out. The second are called non-renewable natural resources. These are the things that can run out or be used up, and they usually come from the ground. Renewable and non-renewable resources are energy sources that human society uses to function on a daily basis. The difference between these two types of resources is that renewable resources can naturally replenish themselves while non-renewable resources cannot. This means that non-renewable resources are limited in supply and cannot be used sustainably. Renewable resources will naturally replenish themselves over time, like wind, solar, plants, and trees. Non-renewable will be gone forever once used up, like coal, fuel. Understanding the difference is key to managing natural resources for the future.